So I went and saw Furiosa over the weekend, and it was honestly great. Nearly 10 years removed from the legendary Fury Road, Furiosa doesn't aim to reinvent the wheel on one of the most intense visually striking films of the 2010s. Instead, what it does within the film, and by extension Fury Road, is to lay the asphalt for where the story is to take place, for both Max and especially Furiosa. With the way Fury Road was developed, George Miller and his team created backstories for a number of key characters within the film, and the most interesting of which was Imperator Furiosa.
I don't know exactly where, but I was walking across a pedestrian crossing, and halfway across the crossing, an idea came into my head. You can tell a Mad Max movie in which it was a continuous chase. At the same time, the notion was that there would be a number of women, and that they would have a female road warrior who was helping them escape. And a good 2/3 of the story played out in my mind about what would happen, where this woman would be from. It was very important that Max get caught up in the story. What was Max's circumstance? What was the world, who the tyrant was? And I got really excited. It just kept sort of tumbling out. When I saw Doug Mitchell, I said, look, I think there's another Mad Max movie.
For as blood-pumping, violent, and incredible as Mad Max Fury Road was, it left a lot of stories up in the air for imagination to fill in the gaps. It's not one of the most complex stories out there, nor does it really need to be. Nor is it just visual eye candy either. There's a reason as to why Fury Road is able to stand on its own 2 feet, and that reason is a drive for the betterment of each character in that story, the drive for hope. But there's also a reason why Furiosa is able to stand right next to it and be just as great. It's the decades worth of story, character building, and plot weaving elements is what really supports Furiosa in being able to be its own film, to have its own identity. After all, the title is Furiosa at Mad Max Saga, and that may be Miller's smartest decision through the entire project. I don't think he or any other director was going to outdo the heavy metal mayhem of Fury Road. It's a high bar for literally anyone to clear. We knew that, and he certainly knew that. But what Fury Road wasn't able to do within its story, Furiosa paints the picture so vividly that it only enhances Fury Road on a rewatch, which is exactly what I did right after. There's a very interesting theme of hope in the film that Dementis sprinkles throughout the story, constantly reminding both the audience and Furiosa about the wasteland that they're in, and about how both of them and all of true life is essentially dead. And outside of the beginning of the film, the green place that she talks about and yearns for is just that for anyone else. A tale, a fable, an entity to constantly yearn and hope for. An imagination that's left for the mind to fill, much like the backstories of the characters within Fury Road. The second chance that everyone within both films want. It constantly haunts both Max and Furiosa, a through line within their respective histories that will never rest. For Max, the people he failed to protect, and Furiosa, the person she failed to save. And just like what Dementis said in his final moments with Furiosa, it's not hope that drives people, it's vengeance. In a wasteland with nothing to look forward to, the only way to truly look forward is to look back in the rearview mirror. The entire world is built on recognizable iconography of the past to help shape its economy and world. Motorbikes, trucks, chariots, and godlike figures giving a path for some kind of new life, even through the most barbaric efforts. And while Dementis' statement is valid and applies to himself as a character, and perhaps others as well, the same can't be applied to Furiosa. While she's fueled by her history and her stolen life, the glaring difference is that Furiosa is also fueled by the hopes of a new life, no matter how dim and hopeless her surroundings are. A life different from what Dementis and eventually Immortal Joe want. It's why Dementis doesn't die at the bloodied hands of Furiosa as an act of revenge, as so many others have, further continuing the cycle of violence perpetuated by those that inhabit and control the world. But instead, by the roots of the tree grown by Furiosa, using her mother's peach seed that she gave before her death. A tree in the middle of a desert, a clear sign of some kind of hope in an emotionless world. The remnants of her past progressing her and others' future. For Furiosa to truly accept the twice denied utopia she'd wanted across both films, she'd had to return to her past, the citadel in which she'd slaved away most of her life, to truly unlock that world she'd always wanted back. It's a movie that's so rich in storytelling it enhances the one that came before it, A true prequel that's worthy of existing. It doesn't try to be the breathtaking cinematic experience its predecessor was, nor does it try to one-up it. Instead, it fuels the stories with emotion in the barren wasteland, completely flipping the world and its essence on its head. And the fact that the ending of Furiosa and its credits are a direct lead-in to Fury Road, it's a reminder as to what Max, Furiosa, and the wives go through in that journey for new life. It's both poetic and cathartic in a way, as we, the audience, look back at the inevitable, knowing the endgame of all the characters involved. It's an appropriate meta standpoint that after so many years of George Miller hoping and tirelessly trying to get Fury Road made, Furiosa feels like the celebratory lap of his creative vision from the 80s, both critically and hopefully financially. If Fury Road is a story fueled by hope for a better future, Furiosa is a story that's running on the fumes of why that hope exists in the first place.